Presidential flag bearer of the People's Democratic Party and former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, has announced Governor of Delta State, Okowa, as his preferred running mate in the forthcoming 2023 presidential election. Now, Atiku, during the announcement, explained that Okowa personifies not only the seriousness of the situation, but also represents a future young people yearn and deserve. Okowa and Nyesom Wike, Governor of Rivers State, were the top two on the list of preferred candidates being considered for the vice president slot. However, former Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Emeka Ihedioha, and former Senate President Ayim Pius Ayim also made the list.
Accordingly, let me state that the person I have chosen as my running mate possesses those identified qualities. He personifies not only the seriousness the current moment represents for our country, but also the future that our young people yearn for and also deserve. He is a serving governor who has demonstrated in his state and through his conduct that governance is about service to the people. I know that he will not only add excitement to our already energized ticket and campaign, but will also help to bring focus, discipline, and stability to our government come 2023. I am pleased, therefore, to announce here my choice of running mate who will help to lead us to victory next year, not only in the presidential election, but also in the governorship and legislative elections. And he will be by my side as I work hard every day to provide our people with security, revive our economy, improve education, and unite our country. He has both legislative and executive experiences. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the ticket the next Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Governor Ifeanyi Arthur Okowa.
Now, with today being the deadline for the submission of candidates and their running mates to the Independent National Electoral Commission, the ruling party, APC, and its flag bearer, Bola Tinubu, are expected to announce their vice presidential candidate. The Labour Party and its candidate, Peter Obi, are also expected to announce his running mate today. Well, to get into the discussion, we now have in the studio the spokesperson to the flag bearer of the PDP, Mr. Paul Ibe, in the studio right here for us to analyze the selection of their vice presidential candidate. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
All right, sir. So the question is, Ifeanyi Okowa has been selected as the vice presidential candidate, running mate to your flag bearer of the party. What was the thought process that actually went through? What was the thought process that led to his selection?
Well, first of all, let me say that it's very heartwarming, and you know that the process that started, with the primaries, May 28, 29, has come to, full completion. And I think that members of the party, and indeed Nigerians, will be confident that going forward, the PDP has shown, clearly that, that they are there to win the election. The process has been flawless. The process that produced His Excellency Governor Ifeanyi Okowa was a very robust one. The candidate, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, considered, the governorship, the vice presidential candidate to the governors. And when he did that, a committee was set up, for research, and the committee looked far, and looked at all of the, the candidates, the prospective candidates, and made a selection of 3 persons. And those 3 persons were also further screened, by another committee that was led by His Excellency, High Chief, Tom Ikimi. So what we had yesterday was a culmination of a very robust, process that led to the emergence of, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa as the vice presidential candidate.
We saw the announcement clearly as we played up that track up to this conversation, but something was also very evidently clear yesterday. one of the names who seemed to have been a major forerunner to this selection was absent. I'm talking about Governor Wike. Does that suggest some kind of acrimony on the ground, or or rather, the people of Rivers State not being happy with whatever this decision or outcome is?
No, that is, taking, the interpretation beyond, what it is. There were 3 governors present at yesterday's event. Governors Ifeanyi Okowa, the candidate, the vice presidential candidate, Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi, Governor Emmanuel, Udom, of Akwa Ibom State. Apart from Governor Wike, Governor Fintri was also absent. The governor Governor Baseki was present, but Governor Wike was not the only governor who was absent from, yesterday's event. And I don't think that suggests that for any reason, he's not happy with, with the outcome. The the presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, did say, he said clearly that if it were possible, he would have selected, the 3 candidates. What does that suggest? What he was saying, in essence, is that any of those candidates were very, very qualified, to support, his ticket to win the election and to be able to deliver on the mandate, of the PDP, which is essentially is to repair all of the fissures, all of the cracks, all of the damages that have been wrought to our political, social, and economic fabric, as a people and as a nation. So I don't think it suggests, that for any reason Governor Wike, is not happy. Make no mistake about it. His Excellency, Governor Wike he is an extraordinary party man. He understands party politics. He has been committed to, the People's Democratic Party, over the last 2 decades. And it is my belief that he will match his desire with his commitment to ensure that, the PDP, wins, the February 2023 polls. So there is no distance. The unity, the process to forge unity, to reinforce unity in the party, which Atiku Abubakar started after the primaries, certainly he is going to up, the game to ensure that post the announcement of the vice presidential candidate, whatever it is, there may be some misgivings around this, they will mend it and go ahead. The bigger challenge is with kicking out the All Progressives Congress that has made life hell and miserable for all of us.
So well, let's focus on the person now. That's Governor Okowa. A lot of people feel that because if you describe Governor Okowa, one of the first attributes you'll attribute to him is that he's laid back, he's calm, he's reserved, and a lot of people actually believe that is not the kind of person the PDP really needs as a vice president. They need somebody that can be able to galvanize people, a rabble rouser, that can be able to inject a lot of energy into its campaign. And a lot of people are actually of the opinion, some people are of the opinion that Governor Okowa is not that kind of person, and he's too meek to be considered. What exactly does he bring to this particular ticket as it is? His combination with Atiku, what does it actually pretend for the PDP?
These are serious times. Nigeria is at crossroads. With a collapsed economy. It's not collapsing, it's collapsed. We have a major energy crisis, and so I want to believe that you're running on diesel. I've not seen public power supply since last week. The last time I saw public power supply was this time last week in my home. Killings are rife. These are serious times. These are not times for drama. We are not looking for a drama king. We're looking for a man, as epitomized, by the by Okowa, man who is calm. In terms of emergency, I mean, there is turbulence, in the air. A pilot you need a man who, can come to terms with the reality, of the times and be calm. If you're not calm, you're not able to do. So you said it clearly that the man is a calm person. And you need a calm mind with a clear vision to be able to navigate, the challenges that we're facing, as a people. They are monumental, they are huge, they are historic. We've never had it this bad. So he is the kind of person that Atiku Abubakar is also another. He's not a drama person, serious-minded. So governance is serious, is serious business. And so that was why he brought, if you heard him clearly, someone that will complement him. There is really, knowing the two of them, over some time, there is a bromance. You see, when I look at the two of you, I can also see that, the way you've been handling, all of these things, there is, some connection that you have. And I believe he has that connection. You need that kind of a person who shares in your values, who will be able to walk your vision, with you, who is on the same page with you on the matters of security, of education, of economy, and all other things that you have, prescriptions that you have made, in your policy, documents. So you need that kind of a person. And I believe that Governor, His Excellency Governor Ifeanyi Okowa complements, every ramification, what Atiku Abubakar. He's bringing a lot on the table. He has had, what he's been able to do in Delta State, his state, delivering, on those key, areas that make life, meaningful, for people. Education is done well. He's done well in infrastructure, development in Delta State. Above all, there is unity. There is peace. You need that more than any other thing. For us to make progress, in economic development, in providing social, making social investments, we need to ensure that all of the divisions that have been wrought on us in the last 7 years by this administration because of its policies of, there is a near absence of inclusiveness, and that in itself has implications for security, and those are some of the things driving the separatist agendas that you see all over the place. So, I need to, restate that His Excellency Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, complements very well, the presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar.
Interesting. Some of the points, salient points that you have brought to the fore. But there are issues already with these announcements. Yesterday, I'm sure you are aware, some party chieftains saying they are parting ways because of the choice of Okowa, and the Ohanese saying that Governor Okowa, who chaired the South-South Accord, is it, for the call for power to shift to that part of the country today, seem to have been compensated with the vice presidential ticket, thereby throwing away whatever the outcome of that accord is, and in a way viewing it as some kind of betrayal of the cause. Do you see those pronouncements as such?
Well, any serious-minded member of the PDP at this point in time of our history will understand that the country needs a new direction. That if we are to even have a nation, we need to ensure that we enthrone leadership and governance that will give hope, that will rekindle hope. I know that not everybody may be satisfied with the announcement of yesterday, and I wasn't expecting everybody to be, to just accept it the way it is. It's in the nature of politics. Some people may have their personal, choices to make. But what will not be acceptable is anti-party, activities. It's either you're in the PDP or you're out of the PDP. And some people have a history of playing both ends of the political, divide. And it's not really, predicated on any principle. It is predicated on stomach infrastructure.
So are you saying it is wrong for, let's say, the Ohanese Ndibu to have raised an objections with regards to the role that he has played? If you have been a front runner asking that power should shift to this part of the world, one would think that on a moral ground, you should not be a beneficiary of something you didn't canvass for.
Well, I wasn't speaking about the Ohanese Ndibu. Don't forget that I am part of the Indiese, Ohanese, the leadership, the king, and the people.
That's right.
Okay.
So I am very proudly Ohanese. So I wasn't referring to the Ohanese, I was referring to the individuals.
That's right.
It is in its place to make pronouncements, about the direction, of the country. They're also stakeholders, But the party, I mean, we need to state it, the party, the PDP, had gone on a journey, had taken, position. All of the organs of the party have been involved, in the process to determining what direction, they are going to. There was a debate, robust debate, about the issue of zoning, and the party took, a decision, which they believe is in their best interest, and in the best interest of the nation. And on that decision that they took, they have come this far. And I think any party person, because I was referring to the individuals, party person should respect
That process.
You understand? I mean, the minority have had a say. Everybody has ventilated, spoken about what they think, and a position has been taken, by the party. That position needs to be respected. Like I said, the bigger challenge is to confront the ruling party and be able to form a united front so that they can be defeated. If you don't defeat them, all of the things that people are talking about, sharing, you will not have the opportunity, to do this. So it is important that those who may be aggrieved, they shield their destiny and give the party and the presidential candidate an opportunity to engage, with them.
All right, an opportunity to engage. That is a very interesting point, because it leads to my question right now. Just like you said, there are people that might feel aggrieved with certain decisions that are actually been taken within the party because it doesn't favor some of the ideas that they have. Has the party put anything in place to keep those people within the fold? Because we don't, I believe the party doesn't want a situation whereby this one will leave, that one will leave, and people will start doing, just like you mentioned, anti-party activities. What has the party now put in place to ensure that these people remain with the fold? And how do I put it now? And you work for the benefit of the party.
One of the things that you can concede to the PDP is the fact that it has very robust mechanism for dealing with, the issues that are thrown up, in the party. I mean, since 1998, when the party was set up, they have that. That was why they were able to dodge the bullet, with the primaries. They dodged the bullet with the election, that threw up, His Excellency Dr. Yocha, Senator Yocha Ayu, as a national chairman. And once again, I believe that they will dodge, the bullet. And not because of, strong men, no, it's because of the robust, mechanism that they have. And I believe, and I can say with you this morning, that the process to healing, the process to mending the cracks, the process to, dousing, tensions and telling the people who may be aggrieved that no, we're in this, together. We have crossed, one river, but we have a major river to cross, in February, and we need everybody, coming on board. To be able to do that. Okay. It's not just about Atiku Abubakar. It's about all of us, you and I. If we understand what this moment, means, where a loaf of bread depending on which part of the country you are, is 900 to 1,000 naira. We are 800 gram Dano milk sachet is 4,000 naira. We've never had this bad. So these are the, whether as PDP or as Nigerians, these are the critical decisions that we need to make, going forward.
Talking about critical decisions, moving slightly away, from Governor Okowa, even though he seemed to form the bulk of whichever way the pendulum swings this morning. We have seen an unprecedented attention to choosing a vice president, not just with the PDP. Just about every party. In fact, we now have a new lexicon in our political history of a dummy candidate ahead of a deadline, whatever that means. But prior to this time, the choice of a candidate was a given. Everybody was just interested in the main flag bearer, and after that, whatever it is, he picks, in quote, as a spare tire, is given little or no attention. What do you think is happening to our national consciousness, given the kind of intensity with which Nigerians have followed the debate around who deputizes? What has happened? What exactly shifts? What's happening to us as a country?
Two things. One, the choice of the vice presidential candidate, it involves some balancing. You need to balance the ticket, whatever may be the configurations involved. Balancing, and you know that it takes it's challenging to balance. So that's what it is all about. That is why there is an interest. Secondly, don't forget that the vice president is the chairman of the National Economic Council. And that's a very strong, institution, within the presidency that oversees the management, of the economy. So you need somebody, especially at this point in time, and when we are, grappling with a GDP that is less than 1%, you need somebody who understands what managing the economy is about. You need somebody that will share in the vision, of the candidate itself. But above all, you also need somebody who, peradventure, anything happens, you have a ready-made leader from day one who can step in to be president. So it's not just the era of spare tires, are gone. It's no longer a spare tire issue. The times that we live in are different from the distant thing. It's more challenging, and you need to have somebody who can be able to rise, to the challenge of the times. I think this is what this is all about.
And you have followed activities closely at the level of the party. From the emergence of the party chairman, as you rightly mentioned, which was a dodging of bullet, if I choose to use it, or if you permit me to use those phrases of yours, to the emergence of, first of all, tackling the issues of whether to zone the president to the south or throw the tickets open, and all of the consultations that went into that, to arriving at the presidential flag bearer, and of course, to the choice of Okowa. What has been the feelers, from across the country with regards to the kind of attention that has been paid? Because we know that the opposition party, if I would quote the words of some key stakeholders, have played a very terrible role in checking the party in power. Whilst the party in power seemed to have had its own fair share of crises, the opposition party seemed to have spent the last 7 years wobbling from one kind of crisis to the other. Now, with all of these milestones crossed, what has been the feelers from across the countries, from keen watchers of the activities of the PDP to members who have decided not to be part of the controversy and just sit and watch and see what direction things are? Are you getting any kind of feelers about renewed zeal and vigor about participating in the, taking interest and participating in the activities of the party?
You know, Nigerians from all walks and from all divides are reminiscing about, you know, the good old days. You see, whatever it is you may say, you know, about the 16 years of the PDP, it doesn't compare to what we have had in the last 7 years. The last 7 years have been hell. It's been hellish. But average Nigerian, the middle class has disappeared. You know, I was discussing with a friend of mine, and then I said, the middle class plays a key role. And then, you know, in every country, and when you have a middle class here disappearing, what will happen to, you know, those on the lower rungs of the, you know, the ladder, the poor? We have a middle class, and a lot of, you know, the middle class is very, very distant because they are the ones closer to the distant, you know, they have been able to make a breakthrough from the poverty distant. And so there is, you know, some form of affinity between them. And where you don't have them, it portends serious implications for the poor, you know, for the very poor people. So we've had a middle class that has vanished since 2015. It is not there. And they have fallen into, you know, the poverty, you know, trap. And that's why you have the poverty, you know, in Nigeria being discussed and elevated as multidimensional. It is much more, you know, higher than, you know, what you find in other places, about 90 million, you know, people. So those are, you know, those data are very scary. So people are already looking, you know, having the hope that they can have, you know, that those good old days, you know, with the PDP, you know, back, you know, in power. And I mean, you have conversation and, okay, fine, take us back to where we were, you know, where Naira to dollar exchange rate was about 159, 69 to a dollar.
64.
You know, we know what it is, you know, today. And so if you look at, you see, this election will be a referendum on the APC. And let's do a check. Economy, less than 1%. Prices, they have hit the roof. Security, human life and dignity has no value. People are killed every day, and there are no consequence of the action. Nobody is brought to book. Let's look at education. ASU strike. Oh yes, there have been ASU strike before, but nobody comes into government, especially on the mantra of change, and they want to do better than the previous government on negatives. That's not how it is. You want to be able to leave a legacy. So our young children, our young people at home, they have been at home, there is no prospect, they are going back, you know, any soon.
You made a very good point about next year's election being a referendum. But I want to look at something closer now, because I'll be remiss if I don't bring up the Ekiti election. That is upon us now. How do you, how much of a litmus test do you think the Ekiti election will be ahead of 2023? Both for parties and for INEC, and even we, the Nigerian voters.
Let me leave Ekiti out of the equation.
Okay.
Let me come back to the last local government election, the council election that was held in FCT. You know, FCT at the federal capital representing all of the dynamics, all of the elements, you know, from different parts of the country, religion, all of that. That clearly was a litmus test. The FCT election clearly showed you the direction. You know, because the PDP won, you know, made inroads even into areas where it didn't, you know, wasn't even strong. One local government chairman in areas that were, you know, that were the stronghold of, you know, of the APC. So not the Ekiti election, but the FCT election, you know, clearly shows you the direction that will be go. I don't know the outcome. I can't sit here and prejudge what will be the outcome, you know, of the Ekiti, you know, election. You have a sitting governor there, you know, of the ruling party, and you know how, It is with using the instruments of state, of security, and the rest of them. They are conducting an election. But the FCT election, like I said, clearly shows, what it signposts, how the direction of the election in February.
And quickly, before we let you go, we have seen some level of surge in young people, or in fact, young people, if you like, showing up at the INEC offices and designated center to have to register for their PVCs, or probably have them replaced, whatever the case. I mean, some kind of interest we have not seen in recent time. What do you think accounts for this level of interest? Is it just merely because that provides them with a means of identification, or have we come to a point where they now find the players very interesting and that everybody wants to take a part? We've seen this surge across, from the southeast down to the south, essentially, generally. How would you describe this surge? And in addition to that, in your closing thought, would you also support the call for the extension of the continuous voters register as a way of making sure that every eligible voter who makes himself available is captured in this process?
One of the challenges that we have had with young people is their inability to translate, that energy, that they have down to the polling unit to make themselves available, on election day. And the young people, by their nature, are very, they have a lot of energy, to play with them. I'm not surprised about the upsurge, in their numbers. It could be due to a number of factors, but I think the number one factor is that young people in Nigeria are not immune to the realities that we are in now. They are jobless. They are the target of security, agencies because they are wearing dreadlocks, or because of how they look, and they are profiled. All of the avenues that they have to direct their energies into their productive or creative, entrepreneurial businesses. They have all been strangulated. We saw what happened with the ban of Twitter. And people don't know. A lot of young people were dependent on that. I knew of a young person who had a multi-million, naira business that went, through the roof because of that ban. So in this globalized, technology-driven age that we live in, see that young people have begun to, they've found relevance, in those sectors. So they know all of these things. They are, they find themselves in, in endless queues, unable to get fuel. They see the rising, cost of living and the rest of them. And I believe that, all of those things have prompted them to say, no, we want to be able to have, not just to say, we want to take action. And I pray that this action they are taking will translate to their, votes. They must be available to vote. Otherwise, that energy will not have, come to a positive use. Yes, it's a continuous voter registration, and it should be continuous, not just only in nomenclature. And there's nothing wrong in extending it to ensure that people, young people or old people or whoever it is that has a desire, to register, and get a PVC, and that they have an opportunity to exercise, their franchise. I think that is important, and there's nothing wrong in INEC. If INEC is able to extend the deadline for parties to conduct their primaries on the eve of the PDP, own, they should be able to extend, for a prospective, voters to register and get their PVC.
Well, a fitting way to bring this conversation to a close. We have been talking to a media man extraordinary, the special advisor to the presidential flag bearer of the People's Democratic Party, one man who has honed his skills in this same temple. of information management and has been a forerunner for a number of young media practitioners. Paul Ibe is the name who has been in the studio with us providing perspectives to the emergence of Governor Okowa and all other intricacies around the candidature down to the continuous voters registration. It's a pleasure to have you in the studio. Join us, and we hope that in the coming days when the campaign hits the roof proper, you will be here to guide us through what is happening and offer insights to some of the actions.